Welcome to Codex History of Video Games. My name's Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And this week, it's another mailbag episode. We got a lot of cool messages from folks asking questions. We want to answer some questions. So that's what we're doing.
It's question time.
It's question time and answer time, which
and
is
answer time.
Anybody can ask a question. It's really the answer that's the most important part.
Is it, though?
It's like reservations on Seinfeld. Anybody can take a reservation. Keeping them, that's the important part.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's the first Seinfeld reference of the game. Of the game?
Strap in. It's going to be a lot of Seinfeld references.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead and start with our emails here.
Okay.
And do you want to start off by reading Aaron's email?
Yes. Let me pull up Aaron's email because I am prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Dear Mike and Tyler, thank you for making such an amazing podcast. Well, thank you for being such an amazing listener, Aaron.
Yeah, the best listener.
It's so good that I can add myself to the number of listeners that have completed all episodes up to date. It only took me a year. This will also be my first time writing to any podcast. My favorite episodes you did were covering the Doom series. I have never played any of them, and it made me buy all of them on Steam sale and are on my list of games to play. I
think we should build John Romero and John Carmack for that. Do you think we should build them? Send them an invoice?
Yeah, we should send them an invoice, making sure we get our cut of the Steam sales of Doom.
Of a really old game.
Yeah. Also, if you haven't read Masters of Doom, which is where a lot of our conversation came from, that you should read it, Aaron.
That book is amazing. I kind of want to reread that book.
Me too. Really good.
Great.
Aaron goes on to say, I do have an episode request. Chrono Trigger deserves an episode. I would love to hear about the development of that game and how in the world they got so many legendary people to work together on a single project. Keep up the great work. Spider Butts, Aaron.
Now, Chrono Trigger is a JRPG, correct?
It is indeed. And
you are an expert on JRPGs.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I have played a lot of JRPGs. I've never played Chrono Trigger, so that would actually be a good one. And it is one that I have been meaning to get to at some point because it's a classic and I've just never played it. I want to play that and I want to play Chrono Cross, which got a remake that's out on Steam that I think is on sale or went on sale recently. So I would like to play both of those. And I think the Steam version of Chrono Trigger is generally considered to be okay today after a few patches. JRPG remakes in that sense, like people have a lot of feelings on it about how, if they changed this one thing and now the whole game's ruined.
I'll play it. I'll try it. I'll play it. We can play it together separately.
Let's play some Chrono Trigger together.
Alone together. Yeah, alone together. That's what we should do. That would be really fun because I want to get more into JRPGs. And I feel like it's good to start with a legendary one like this.
I think Chrono Trigger is probably a good place to start. I think it does some very cool stuff, but it's also very classic in its implementation of JRPG mechanics.
For sure.
And I think the story is supposed to be very good. Also has like a bajillion endings.
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to try it out. Let's do that. Thank you, Aaron. Great suggestion. All right, here's the next one. This is an email from Levi. Levi says the subject line is the Civilization series. Hi, guys. My name is Levi. I love your podcast. You guys do awesome work. Your dynamic together is super fun, and it always feels like I'm listening to a couple of my own homies talk about something they love. I've listened to all the history episodes and a lot of the game breakdowns, which are prime, but there's one game I don't think has been covered that is very near and dear to me. This is obviously just a fan request, but I would be thrilled to hear a deep dive on either the first Sid Meier's Civilization or the series as a whole. It might be boring. I know it's not Persona, but as a history nerd who loves history podcasts, potentially about a history game, I think it'd be pretty freaking sweet. Either way, I'll be listening in. Loved your Mario Kart Revisited or maybe rebooted. Thank you both for the positive vibes. We all need it. Mahalo from the Aloha State, Levi. P.S. If you guys ever visit Maui, you've got a free breakfast at my restaurant. The name is in my email address. Ooh. Breakfast. Okay. Well, I don't think it's boring at all. I really think we should do a Civilization series. It's been kind of on my radar, and I've been thinking about it as someone who played like Civ 5 and Civ 6 and really enjoyed them. But I want to go back to 1. I think we should go back to 1. Maybe we'll just do 1 and see how it goes. Does that work for you, Ty?
Yeah.
Are you a Civ guy?
I am. I have played a lot. Specifically, I've played a lot of Civilization 4 and 5. 6 didn't grab me as much. I've been frantically typing right now. You probably heard it. I'm trying to find this picture of this that I have. I have a signed copy of Civilization 4 that's signed by Sid Meier and Soren Johnson, the lead designer on it. And it's like, they wrote my name on it. It's so cool. I'm trying to find the picture because I want to share it.
Still have it?
Yeah, I think it's in storage. My parents, I don't know where it is, but I'm sure I have this picture, but I'm like searching my Google Photos because
We'll find it, and then we'll get excited and we'll share it, because you can screen share and you can show everyone the picture on the video.
I want to do, but I know I took a picture of it in the last like few years, but I don't know. And I want to use their AI like search thing because they know everything, but I don't even know what to search for. I searched for civilization, it didn't find anything. But
Civ 4? What about just Civ? What about just CIV?
Civ, because they wrote "get civilized."
Wow, that's kind of a serious thing to say, that you're uncivilized. It's kind of rude of Sid Meier to say that.
Sid Meier and Soren Johnson. It says Tyler. It's so cool.
We'll find it. You can post it on Discord.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep searching for it in case it comes up.
Yeah, keep searching. Well, are you able to read the next email though?
And search at the same time?
I know.
Bet.
All right.
Is this the one from Martin?
It's the one from Martin. Yeah.
All right. It's the subject is Tangent. Hey guys, Martin from Oregon here. This isn't necessarily about video games directly, so I guess it's kind of a email. If you could hit the tangent button here, that would make my day. I just did. I was listening to your Super Mario Kart Revisited episode, and I thought it was really funny how you guys mentioned that anything west of the Cascades is stereotypical Washington, and anything east is basically West Idaho. It's funny because that's exactly how it is in Oregon, too. I live in Eastern Oregon. When people ask me where I live, I will sometimes say I live in New Idaho. I also think it's really cool when Tyler talks about some of the places he used to go in Tri-Cities when he was growing up, because I've been to a lot of those places. Tri-Cities and Boise are the two closest places to me that have anything fun to do. I've never heard Tyler mention Adventures Underground in Richland, so I'm curious if he's ever been there. It's one of my favorite places to go in that area. Anyway, keep up the great work, guys. You rock. I do. I love Adventures Underground. Every time I go back home, I try to go to Adventures Underground. I buy comics there. I just hang out. They got a lot of board games. It's just like a nice environment.
Your voice got so excited when you said Adventures Underground the first time that I'm like, oh, he's been there. He's been there.
I've spent a lot of time at Adventures Underground. Adventures Underground, and also that in the Uptown is where Sunken Treasures is, which is a very fun retro game store as well.
We've mentioned Sunken Treasures, right?
Yeah.
But not Adventures Underground before.
Yeah. If you're ever in the Tri-Cities area and you find yourself in Richland, specifically the Uptown, which is a shopping area in Richland, Adventures Underground is a must, as is Sunken Treasures. I love both of those places.
Do people call it the Try? I always call it the Try.
Yes, people do call it the Try.
Sweet. Okay, I'm not just I'm not just saying that. I'm just making that up for myself. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it is really true how it's you go east of the mountains here, and it's just a completely different state. In fact, there was a movement to try to take that land, like annex that into Idaho. I don't know if that's still a thing or not. Like to annex Eastern Washington and Eastern Oregon into Idaho. And I'm like, wow. I don't know if that's going to work. Maybe just leave things the way they are and it's fine. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
it's kind of a interesting vibe. But yeah, so another or an Oregonian, another Northwesterner here.
Yeah, an Oregonian. I probably drive through your hood when I drive home from California.
I've spent time doing comedy in Eastern Oregon, so like Pendleton and stuff like that. And so I may have driven through the town that Martin in Oregon is in. I don't know. He can email us the town. Yeah, privately. I'm not trying to dox somebody. You know what I mean?
Right. I have certainly been to Pendleton, many towns in Eastern Oregon.
Yeah. So, but thank you for the email. All right. It's time to get to the most controversial email we have. Are you ready?
Oh, boy.
So it starts out, there's actually two emails here from Reeve. Okay. The first one starts out pretty innocent. It says, hi, Reeve from Alaska. Here I have an episode idea. First, you should do a history of video of racing games. That is good. And the second is what Persona and Diablo are about. They don't know what Persona and Diablo are about. So we can kind of talk about that, because I realized we might have just kind of assumed what people thought those two games were without ever saying what they are. So maybe we should just give a brief rundown of the two. Does that work?
I mean, I feel like
you definitely did in Persona. So yeah, Persona is, but I think we mentioned Diablo. We didn't say it. And I sometimes just assume people know things, you know? Yeah. And it's like one of those things where, okay, we'll fix it. So for Persona, do you want to give like a quick rundown of what Persona is?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the TLDR Persona is, generally speaking, high school kids save the world from demons, and or literally Hitler in one of the games. And they usually like folk has themes of like alternate realities and like people's thoughts creating reality, that kind of stuff. Each game sort of will usually explore a different like idea around that. They all have like an alternate reality where most of the fighting occurs. So yeah, that's kind of it. But yeah, Japanese high school kids save the world from demons. Is really.
Yep. And then Diablo is a imaginary world called Sanctuary that is like always under threat from demons and sometimes angels. And then you are a hero and you try to fight against those two things. It gets more complex than that, but that's kind of the TLDR of it for those two. Okay, so that's a totally normal email, right? That Reeve sent us. No big deal. Then Reeve goes on to say this. All right. Hi, Reeve here. Here are my thoughts about Xbox. Xbox is the ugly brother in the console family. It is the steaming pile of poop that your neighbor's dog left on your doorstep. You can't call yourself a gamer, but the only thing you play is Xbox and PC. You are not a true gamer if you do not have a PlayStation. May you get crushed by knobs forever. I don't know what knobs are, but I'll be back is what it says. So we have a complete heel turn here from Reeves. Okay.
Wow.
Just out of nowhere. And I feel like it's towards me because you have a PlayStation title and you play PlayStation.
That's true. Them's fighting words.
You're a true gamer and I am not.
True gamer TM.
But I am playing PlayStation games now on PC. I just don't want to buy a PS5 because they're kind of expensive.
They're expensive. Hey, here's what I'm thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we should be gatekeeping who is and isn't a true gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Especially not based on their platform of choice. It's okay to have preferences. If you like the games on PlayStation better than on Xbox, that's fine. Play your PlayStation games. I think if I had to pick one or the other, I would almost certainly pick PlayStation. I think they have a great library of single player titles that are very, very good. However,
wow. So Tyler's a console wars guy. You all heard it here first. He's just full on going in.
I'm not a console wars
I can't
guy.
believe you just take Reeve's side like that and leave me in the dirt, Tyler. I can't believe you do that.
Yeah. Well, actually, so this is between, if we're just talking consoles, I take PlayStation over Xbox. But if PC is thrown in the mix, I got to take a PC.
Well, what about Nintendo? What about Nintendo in this
Nintendo's,
situation?
they're their own thing.
Ooh,
you know,
I love it.
They're not even competing. It's a totally different.
They're doing their own different ball game thing.
Yeah.
Because I would argue like between those three consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, I would choose Nintendo probably personally. Because I have a nostalgia towards those kind of games that draws me in, like Zelda, anything Mario, like all that kind of stuff is like Pokemon. That was like my childhood. Whereas, and I talked about this before, there's a giant gap in me gaming where from PS2 to or like PS3 to like now PS5, I haven't played any PlayStation games. Like I played from PS1 and PS2, and then I left PlayStation not by choice, just because I had an Xbox for my birthday, and I just kind of went that way. But yeah, so maybe I need to get a PlayStation to be a true gamer. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, the Nintendo's a great choice right now because the Switch as a hardware platform is so versatile, right? Because it's a console, but also you can take it with you, which is not really something you can get with Xbox or PlayStation. You can with PC if you're willing to spend some money on a handheld PC, on a Steam Deck. I guess Steam Deck is actually comparable. It's more expensive than a Switch, but it's not like there are some other like handheld PCs that are like just way out there. That are very expensive.
Did you see that Steam Deck sold? I think they announced they sold over 1 million units.
Really? That's great.
Yeah. They announced. I think they kind of like mentioned that recently that they passed 1 million units sold for Steam Deck.
That's really great to hear because I was worried that it wouldn't do very well because I think the handheld PC space is such a cool space. Even if it's really expensive right now, there's a lot of companies that are doing some neat stuff there, and I'm glad that the Steam Deck has proven that like there's a market here of people that want to buy this. And I hope that they eventually revisit the Steam machines concept that they had a few years back where there was like put Steam OS on a PC and it's a console, but for Steam, except they didn't have any of it was Linux based and they didn't have any of the Proton stuff that the Steam Deck has that'll basically play any game on a Steam Deck, like Windows games on Steam Deck. I think if they revisited the Steam machines concept, they would do a lot better this time.
Okay, so yeah, I think so too. They also, I'm sorry, I looked this up while I'm being a bad podcast host because I wanted to check my work here. Okay, according to The Verge, the Steam Deck, they didn't say 1 million copies. They did say that the Steam Deck handheld gaming PC has been the number 2 top grossing product on Steam for 5 weeks in a row. So, okay. And it surpassed Elden Ring in those 5 weeks.
Okay, so, I mean, top grossing though. That's because every Steam Deck is at least $400, right? So you got to sell like 10 copies of a $40 game to match that. So I don't know if top grossing is like a great metric, but I guess it is a metric.
In last July, Gabe Newell told IGN he would be selling these in the millions of units. So I think they've surpassed 1 million units at this point. It's pretty safe to say that they've surpassed 1 million units.
Well,
But
that's great.
because that was last July. So,
Yeah.
and I've been knowing people that I wouldn't expect to get the product and they're getting it. So I thought that was exciting.
I
So
think
good
it's
for that. Pocket
it's very
PCs, if
cool.
you want to call them pocket PCs, that's the wrong term. Portable PCs, but like pocket PCs is like a BlackBerry. Isn't
Yeah,
that
Pocket
called
PC
BlackBerry?
was a thing, a Microsoft thing, and I had one. Believe me, I had one.
Ooh, do you still have it?
Yeah, I do actually. I had a Dell Axim X5, and it was very cool. It sucked, but it was very cool.
Well, I just wanted to bring up this email from Reeve because I think it's funny that we see a professional wrestling style heel turn where it's just an innocent question about racing games, and all of a sudden I am not a true gamer out of nowhere.
Yeah, Mike's not a true
I'm
gamer.
not a true gamer, but
my
go ahead.
takeaway there is I'm not a big fan of gatekeeping gamerness.
I think Reeve's doing this in jest, by the way. I don't think it's like a serious
No.
thing. I mean, it's very funny, but thank you. So
I know,
I
it's
just
me.
wanted to throw that out there.
I'm still trying to find this picture of Civilization.
He wants to find a sim.
I really want to find it because it comes up in like my memories all the time, and I'm like, yeah, that was cool.
Well,
and then I can't find it when I need it.
You go ahead and keep looking for your Civ picture, and I'm going to start our Discord mailbag questions that we got.
Okay.
So the first one's from Burger Champ. And last mailbag, you talked about games adapted to film and television. Now let's talk about movies and television being adapted to games. What film or TV properties would you like seeing the game treatment? Would you want a game where you play little known side characters or the main characters? Would you want a direct adaptation of the storyline or a new prequel, sequel, interquel? What style of game would you want it to be? My best example of how to adapt a movie to a game is The Godfather. It follows the story of the film beat for beat, but the player is a new character that is involved in aspects seen off camera. For example, you put the head in the bed, is what they say. My choice would be the point and click mystery game based off the Gravity Falls universe, and that's from Burger Champ. So I have an idea for one. And I think it could be either a prequel or an interquel or an entirely separate story in the same universe. I want a True Detective game, the HBO series True Detective, in the style of like an LA Noire kind of game. Or
that's a great idea.
It could be even in the style of like a what's that game we talk about that's like the horror game in the ski lodge at night?
Until Dawn.
It could be like that too. It could be like a movie, because if you want to be more cinematic, you could like play the story differently. Because it's gonna have to be a story heavy game to do a True Detective game for sure. There's no way you could pull that off without being heavy story. I think it could have some combat though, which is kind of why I want it to be LA Noire. I want to have the option open for third person shooting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my idea for it. I thought True Detective would be a good one. Did you think about anything for these ones though, for the TV shows one?
Like to go the other way, I think maybe a Game of Thrones grand strategy game.
Ooh, like an RTS kind of.
Yeah, but maybe even bigger, like one that focuses less on like combat and like micromanaging of your troops and stuff, and more on like the political, like backstabbing stuff, like Crusader Kings, kind of, only like more Game of Thrones themed. Because that's the interesting part of Game of Thrones to me, is so like how is the interactions between all the different like houses and how they like kind of vie for territory and stuff like that. I think that would be like potentially pretty cool. But yeah, it's like you don't just want to take the story of a movie and then be like, well, let's like throw some like just throw it into a third person shooter or something. Like I don't think that's very compelling. You want to give it a reason to be a game, and a lot of times that might be telling a different story that is separate from whatever the story of the main thing is, so that you can sort of have some malleability in how the story plays out. So yeah, I can't think of anything really specific other than like maybe a Game of Thrones one. But I do love the Godfather, like the idea of that, of where it's like follows the story of the movie very closely. However, you play a character that's like doing these things that sort of happen off screen, and so it sort of adds to the story. But you could have also done that as just its own side movie, although maybe a game is like more fun because it's like a different medium.
But, and you're like playing it, you know. Yeah. I would also love to see like I know they made Sopranos games. I know they did, but a good like open world. I think you could do an open world style Sopranos game in the Sopranos universe where you're a side character. I don't think you would be Tony Soprano. I think you'd be. They already did it with a movie where they went back with the Many Saints of Newark. They went back in time. So I think you could play with the prequel where you're like with Tony as like a side character and you're like coming up together maybe, and you're like one of his people in there. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
a
a
good
great
idea.
question though. I love this question because I like the idea. I know some people are very against movie, TV adaptations and stuff like that, but I think it's just a part of life and it's fun, so I enjoy it. Do you
Yeah.
want to read the next one from Skilp on Discord?
Yes. Okay, from Skilp. Started playing Unicorn Overlord, and I am completely hooked. While I could go on about the mechanics / what makes it fun to me, what has frustrated me more is the title of the game. In the context of the game, sure, it makes sense. But as someone who enjoys talking about a game that I'm playing to people who may be unfamiliar with games outside the mainstream, the name Unicorn Overlord immediately throws them off. And I'd even assume more people looking for games would easily pass over it without a second thought due to the title. My question is, how important do you think a game title is to its overall success? Are there any examples of games you simply passed over or maybe came back to later due to the title not really piquing your initial interest? I never would have picked up this game if I didn't hear positive things about it on another gaming podcast. Y'all are still my number one gaming podcast. Thanks, Skip. If I would have assumed it was another dime a dozen anime art romance sim game. Love the pod. Okay, thanks. Bye.
I actually wrote one in here because I've talked about this at length, but I didn't play The Witcher 3 for the longest time because of the number 3. Like I thought I had to play the other 2 first, which is kind of what held me off on it. So it's kind of weird to me how numbering in sequels I think does really matter. I can't really think of, I'm going through my library right now to think of any games that I was just like, that was terrible. You know what I mean? But like the renumbering thing makes me mad. Like when you get, it happens with games a lot where the numbering system gets thrown off and they just try to do something weird. And you're like, what is this? You know?
Yeah, the Yakuza games do that where you're like, where do I even start here? And those are games that like feed into each other, I think, with a few exceptions, which I'm not very familiar with that series as a whole, but it's one that I would like to get into. As far as like skipping a game due to the title, it's hard to remember any specific stuff because if I skipped it, then it went out of my brain and I don't remember, like, I don't like keep a list of games I skipped because of the title, you know? And then so usually the reason I will pick up a game that if it's not part of like something I'm already into, like if it's a new Persona game, obviously the title just tells me that it's another Persona game. Usually it's because I've heard about it from other places, like, oh, you got to check this game out, you got to play this game, and like it sort of builds up a hype, and then the title doesn't matter to me at that point. But I do think title matters on a subconscious level because I'm sure there are games that I have scrolled by and saw the title and gone, ooh, that sounds fun, right? I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure that has happened. And I think this is like these examples that I'm about to list are not video game examples, but examples of like how titles matter. Almost every single time a Philip K. Dick story gets adapted to movie, they change the title of the book because the book titles are not good. Like Blade Runner, the book is called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Yeah.
Total Recall is called We Can Remember It For You Wholesale. That's the name of the book. We Can Remember It For You Wholesale.
I was glad you brought that up. I'm really glad you brought this up because, it's weird.
There's a few others that are like good examples of that too. A Scanner Darkly is the name of the book. And I think Minority Report is the name of the short story. But they're like, they will change the title because they're not very good titles.
Yeah, man. It's funny because I think it matters more with books and movies than it does with games, because I feel like with a game, the way you look at a game and how you process, am I going to play this or not, is usually you watching videos on the game or like watching a review. And so a title can be weird because a title can help you remember it. So you look it up. Like, I feel like that's something that's more important. Whereas a book, you're like, well, I'm getting the title and that's all I can get to glean if I want to read the book or not. And so it does kind of matter for your opinion, but there's so many ways to see and process a game before you play it that I think the title isn't as important. But sequels or prequels where the numbering is off drives me off the wall.
I don't blame you.
Crazy. So that's something.
Especially a series like Final Fantasy, where it's like, oh, the 16th Final Fantasy just came out. Like, well, I didn't play the first 15, so like, am I going to be lost? And it's like, no, it's just the 16th game. That what even constitutes a Final Fantasy game anymore is a whole subject for another time. But it is, I think, a little bit misleading in that sense.
Yeah. For sure.
It's like
for
when
sure.
Mambo Number 5 came out by Lou Bega, and I was like, I
Remember
haven't listened to Mambos 1 through 4. Am I going to be lost in the story here?
You got it. That's exactly it. That's it. Everything goes back to Lou Bega. I
That's
think
right.
that's what you should learn about this podcast. Everything goes back to Lou Bega.
Yep. And I still haven't listened to Mambo Number 5 because I think I'll be lost. I'm still worried about that.
Good point. Excellent point. Excellent point for a reference that's 20 years old. All right.
Well, it's
older than
more
20? Oh no. Look it up. Look it up. Can
I'm
you look
looking
up
it up.
when it came up?
Mambo Number 5.
I'm gonna maybe it's 25. I'm hoping it's not 30.
Well, there is the 1949 instrumental Mambo song from 1949, but where's Lou Bega? Lou Bega sampled it for a song released under the same name on his album 1999.
Okay, so almost 30
literally
years.
25 years old as of 2 days ago.
Oh, wow. Well, so then you know what? Topical reference, Tyler. Good job. The 25th anniversary of Mambo Number 5. We like to celebrate obscure songs' 25th anniversaries on this podcast, so that's why we're here. All right.
Mambo Number 5 is not an obscure song, Mike.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. Tyler, you don't know this, but Tyler has one tattoo, and it's Mambo Number 5 on his
and it's
right arm.
In like a fancy font below it. It says "Where's numbers 1 through 4."
All right, let's move on. I'm going to go back to another Burger Champ question. Here we go. All right, so Burger Champ says, with the discussion of relaxing games in the recent episode, what is your dividing line between what you would consider a relaxing game and a comfort game? Are there comfort games that you wouldn't consider relaxing? And my knee-jerk reaction is yes, because I am a big fan of the Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 games and Doom in general, and I do not consider them relaxing. But I do consider them comforting. Also, like Fallout's very similar in that way, just in the nature of Fallout being everywhere right now because of the TV show. But the funny part about that, though, is the longer I think about Burger Champ's question, the more I realize, though, that Doom is not relaxing, but you do get to a certain point in it where it's like a flow thing and you do get relaxed when you're like in the groove. So I would say that it's a fine line, but there are games that I consider comforting that are not relaxing. And I would say Fallout or like Baldur's Gate 3, it can be like that too, because you're in a fight and it gets really tense or something like that. There's moments where it's relaxing, but it's not. What about you?
Yeah, I would fully agree with you on that. There are games that are more relaxing than others, that like are just calm, like nice. I think Journey is kind of like that. All of the games that we talked about a couple weeks ago. I think for me, like a comfort game that's not relaxing is Star Fox 64, because I know every inch of that game. I've played it 8,000 times in my life. And so like I can just kind of turn my brain off and just go, even though it's not relaxing, it's a full on action game. Like there's stuff happening on screen all the time. But yeah, that's a comfort game for me.
You just turn your like brain off and barrel roll to your heart's content.
Do a barrel roll. Try a somersault. Use the brakes.
Fox. That's my Slippy impression. Was it good?
It was really good. I thought you got a button to press for Slippy.
I wish I bought a soundboard for $400 just so I could reference Slippy. Okay.
Yeah, right. I'm quoting that game the whole time I'm playing it. I'm just like every voice sample that comes up, I know it.
You know what? The one that I always love the best, that my favorite voice sample from Star Fox 64 is "You're good, but I'm better" from the Star Wolf. Yeah, Star Wolf, great villain. Better than Andros. I would say better than Andros. He's like the guy that you love to see in the narrative. Oh,
yeah. And Pigma's messed up, dude. Pigma's like making fun. He's the one that is responsible for Fox's dad's death, and he's making fun of Fox the whole time because his dad died. Dang, man.
Have we done Star Fox?
I don't know if we have, but
okay, because that might be on the upper list. Star Fox is good because it has a story. It has a good story behind it too, and it's like, oh yeah, I love Star Fox.
My favorite Bill line, because you can shoot him as much as you want, but he won't die in the fight in the couple of levels that you can play with Bill. But he just says, "Hey, see if I help you again." Like this, like total like surfer. I say that in real life sometimes, and I don't know if anybody gets the reference, but I think it's very funny.
I love that. No, I love it. We should. There's got to be some sort of weird mod for Star Fox, right? Like to play it online with friends? Is there a way?
Oh, that would be like a co-op mod. That
Like a
would be
co-op
fun.
mod for Star Fox 64 online? There's gotta be. Because if
I've
we
never
could
thought
play
of
that
that, but
together, that would be so fun.
yeah.
Because, like, yeah. Also, I remember as a kid, this is just Star Fox 64 tangent. We're just going for it. It doesn't matter anymore. When I learned, like, naturally playing the game as a kid, that you could do different things in the levels to make the path
Hmm.
change to go to different places, it blew my mind. Like
Yeah.
that when I was in a tank and I'm like, what is happening? Or like when I was just like just switching it up and like it was so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, the Super Nintendo version had like the same idea, like different paths, but you just picked one at the start, and then I don't think you could make changes to it as you went through. But yeah, in the 64 one, it's like it's how you play chooses the
Yeah.
path that you go on.
I love that. All right. Well, Tyler is still looking
I
for
can't
his.
find it.
I'm gonna read the next one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. This is from Mo. Mo says, lately, Xbox has been claiming that their next console will be the quote, largest technical leap in a hardware generation, end quote. While it seems that the marketing for nearly every new console release has included some kind of similar statement, it begs the question, which generation of consoles has brought the largest leap forward? And he has the list of generations from Wikipedia. So Gen 1, which I don't know, have we really even focused on the like actual generations before? Have we
No,
like
I don't
really
think so. Like
so it might be worth
the
reading these out just to like explain. So Gen 1 is Pong, Magnavox Odyssey, Coleco Telstar. Gen 2 is Atari 2600, Fairchild Channel F, and Mattel Intellivision. Gen 3 is your NES, Sega Master System, Atari 7600. Gen 4 is SNES, Sega Genesis, TurboGrafx 16, and Neo Geo. Gen 5 is the first PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and Sega Saturn. Gen 6 is PS2, Xbox, GameCube, Dreamcast. Gen 7 is Wii, Xbox 360, PS3. Gen 8 is PS4, Xbox One, Wii U. Nintendo Switch is, I guess, kind of described as like, I would put that in Gen 8. It's listed here as Gen 8.5 ish. I would say it's Gen 8. But Gen 9 is PS5, Xbox, Xbox Series X and S. I think, and Burger Champ answers the question in Discord, and I agree with Burger Champ that I think the biggest jump, just from a technical standpoint, is Gen 4 to Gen 5, because that was when we went from SNES, Sega Genesis, TurboGrafx 16, Neo Geo to 3D with PlayStation N64. And I mean, the Sega Saturn, you could argue, was not 3D, but that jump essentially was the biggest hardware jump. And
yeah.
I do you agree?
I agree with that. I think that one is the like the biggest example of how the hardware changed how we play games. Because 2D to 3D is like a total shift in how you think about games. Like there are people that like just have trouble with playing 3D games because it's so different from 2D. Um, so yeah, I would say that the every generation after that, like sure, the graphics got better and the worlds got bigger, but like the way we play, like sit down and play the game doesn't feel that different, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot more bells and whistles and stuff. As far as like Gen 8, 8.5 Nintendo Switch, I I kind of put the Switch with the PS4, Xbox One. Yeah, I put it as part of Gen 8, especially the way that Nintendo wants to forget the Wii U ever happened. I
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Yeah,
fine.
I would argue that Switch and Wii U are just the same gen. It just they released two different hardware in that gen, I think, is kind of how I would look at it.
Yeah, and they're 5 years apart, which at that point in generations is a small gap because like Gen 7 to 8 was like 8 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you say it started with the 360 in 2005 and ended when the PS4 or the Xbox One came out in 2013, it's like 8 years. So
Yeah. Oh man, that just reminds me. I have to talk about my Xbox One at the end of this episode. Don't let me forget.
okay,
Okay. Do you want to read Squirrel Mancers next? Actually, no, I'll read Squirrel Mancers because you need to read the last one because
okay,
it's all you. Because
okay.
I need help. Okay, so Squirrel Mancer says, I forgot if I asked you guys this already, but what if instead of making a new console, Sony instead started selling add-ons to? They say PS2 here, they could mean PS5 or whatever. They could have memory add-ons, Bluetooth add-ons, GPU upgrades, but it would still be the PS2. At what point do you think that console has so many add-ons it is not a PS2 anymore? And Tyler and I, because we go over the questions before we start, we just can do full disclosure, had a bit of a debate about this question because I think it's a cool idea because I have become as such an angry a man about planned obsolescence in technology. It makes me upset that the idea is just electronics waste to sell more product, and this would be a way to stop that. But Tyler's argument is very good in that, is this even a console anymore if you're doing that? Do you want to
It's just a
elaborate?
PC.
It's a PC. It's a
If you want to
PC.
be upgrading individual pieces of your system, you get a PC.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of PC. The whole point of console is that you don't do that stuff. And it didn't work for Sega when they tried it. And I think somebody made that point in Discord. The 32X and the Sega CD and like all these things that you add on to the Sega Genesis. It like the 32X kind of was a separate console, but it required the Genesis for not a whole lot. It even had its own power cord, and I think maybe even its own video out. So it's like, what are you even using the Genesis for at that point? You're not really doing anything. So yeah, so if you want that like upgrade individual pieces, you just get a PC. And at what point is it not a PS2 anymore? That is a philosophical question that was also mentioned in the Discord, the ship of Theseus philosophical question, which is like, if you have a boat and you replace one piece of wood on that boat, it's still the same boat, right? You replace two pieces, still the same boat. You replace the sails, it's still the same boat. How long until it's not the same boat? If you've replaced every piece of that boat, is it still the same boat? If you say yes, and then what happens if you take all the pieces of the old boat and you rebuild it? You use all the old pieces, and now you have two boats. Are they both the same boat?
Yeah. I was actually thinking about this with my then this is like hit that button again. We're just gonna hit I have a car. My car is old at this point. It's almost 10 years old at this point. And I was thinking about getting a new car, but I have a sentimental value towards it. And people were like, well, you could put a new engine in that car. And that's like what you could do. But my thought was this: if I put a new engine in that car, I might as well just buy a new car, because it's like it's different. Like that's the heart of the car, right? That's what makes the car that car, is that engine it was in. I don't think the shell around it. So I don't know. It's like, because again, I've been thinking a lot about e-waste. It depresses me. Okay, how much like we as a society use in general, and also how like I have a fridge that's really old. It's from when this house was like here. It's an old fridge. And guess what? It's still kicking, because it was in the time when people built things and they lasted, And now in this day and age we're in now, it's like, if I buy a fridge, it could break after 5 years, because it's just the way technology's built. So it upsets me. But
yeah. And at what point is it no longer the PS2,
the fridge or the car,
the fridge
or
or
the
the
PS2?
car? Yeah. and at that point, I mean, from your e-waste perspective, like if I've put so many things in my old PS2 that it's no longer that PS2, like, are we really saving anything e-waste wise? There's a bunch of e-waste going on inside that console of parts that are no longer being used, that are just there. Like, okay, I guess it's not in the trash, but it still exists. It's still in the world.
Yep, it's still there. No matter what happens, it's still there. And so I think it's a good question. It's a philosophical question. So I think Squirrelmancer brought up a philosophy question, but we'd love to hear from you if you have any thoughts on it. Like you can email us or join our Discord and write in the Discord there in the Mailbag channel. We'd read it on the podcast and stuff. Just tell us you want us to read it on the podcast, because sometimes I'm like, I always take the questions from here, but I'm always nervous about the replies. Like, I don't want to like put something on the podcast that no one wants. So anyway, you convinced me, Tyler. We were debating about it, but you've won me over.
It's just a PC. That exists. Yeah.
People always
I've been the same PC for 30 years, the PC of Theseus, because I have never had like a clean break in my line of PC building, but every part is different now. And I have and will continue to like rebuild old versions of this computer out of the old parts.
Can you call it the PC Theus?
Yeah, the PC Theus. The ship of PC Theus. Yeah.
The ship of PC Theus. Also, I did take my old parts from my computer because Tyler helped me in like 2018, 2017. We put a new motherboard and processor and GPU in here, right? Mm-hmm. And I've since switched to GPU, but I took those old parts, which were really bad, in the pre-built, and I built a PC for my mom, and she still uses it. And because she occasionally calls me and she's like, what's going on with it? And I'm like, well, it's kind of hitting its final run.
It's pretty old.
It's pretty old at this point. But yeah, so It's a really good question. I think, yeah, at that point, you're not even a console anymore. You're a PC. I think that's the big, straightforward answer. And the other part about it is a philosophical question.
Yeah. And then there's all kinds of like other implications there of like, okay, well, when I buy a game, I'm going to have to look at the back of the box and make sure that all the pieces that I have inside my PS2 like match up with what this game requires. And it's just a PC at that point.
Mm-hmm. And it's also a PC from like the 90s when it was really dicey. That's what it becomes. So, all right, cool. Well, that was a really good question, Squirrelmancer, and a really good topic. But the last one today is where I would describe Tyler as an expert. You are the expert on this topic. So I want you to read James from Colorado's message.
All right,
in the Discord.
James from Colorado. Hey guys, hope all is well with you. With the upcoming release of the next Final Fantasy XIV expansion, Dawn Trail, I remembered when the first teaser was released, and I remembered that I totally called the second expansion class based on Yoshi P's t-shirt clue at the FanFest that year. For those who don't know, it is tradition that when Yoshi P does an announcement for an upcoming expansion, he wears the shirt he wears gives a clue about the future release. Yoshi P is the director of Final Fantasy XIV and 16. That year, he wore a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles shirt while showing the Dawn Trail teaser. Attached is a screenshot of a Discord conversation at the time. You can see my message here about my theory and how it was totally on point. First time and probably only time it ever happened. Okay, humble brag over. Thanks. And he goes on to post a picture of him totally calling that the class would be the Pictomancer, which is, even for Final Fantasy, that's an obscure class. Like, I think there's like one person in Final Fantasy VI who could be considered a Pictomancer. I don't think Pictomancer was in Final Fantasy XI. And then like there's a couple mobile games that have Pictomancer in it. And then I think it's also in Bravely Default, that series.
Oh, wow. Sorry, Delilah's yelling. Are you hearing this?
Yeah. Like, your cat is very angry.
It
sounds like a human making a cat noise.
Come here. Has she ever been on the podcast before?
I don't know. We're about to. Podcast producer Delilah.
Oh, here she comes. Come here, buddy. Oh, there she is. I think she's on the podcast. You're on the podcast for the first time, Delilah. There you go. This is what the video is all about, is getting her on here. That's what this is all about. So some people, that might be a big moment. Okay. I've shown pictures of her on the Discord before, but she's just going to chill right here now that we're doing the podcast.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, this is now good. Okay. So thank you for the question, Jake. Now she's sitting on top of my PC and getting her litter toes into the vents, and I have to clean it out. It's disgusting. Gross. Okay. So that's a really good question from James. We do all this Final Fantasy talk, Tyler, and it's slowly.
You need to be an expert too.
I know it's weird to be a video game person because I'm not a real gamer. You
don't know.
Yes, because I miss so much Final Fantasy. I feel like Final Fantasy is a thing, and I do a joke on stage where I sing the Halo theme as a joke, and I did the joke recently, and a comic was like, I thought you were going to either do the Halo theme or the Sephiroth theme. And that's Final Fantasy, right? So I'm like, it's like, those are the two big references that everyone knows. So I'm like, all right, I guess I got to like figure this out. So anyway, thank you, James from Colorado, and everyone that sent us in the email. But I do want to play a game of 20 questions. We haven't done this in a long time, and I thought of a game, and I think we haven't. I'm going to be really embarrassed if we've done this before, but I don't think we have, and I want you to go for it, Tyler. And I think the game, as always, is Tyler has 20 questions to figure out what game I'm choosing, and he has to say yes or no questions, and that's what gets us to the win here for Ty. So I have a piece of paper here that I'm going to tally off markers on so we can actually record our progress here. And you have to tell me in your questions and guess this game. And you do know it. I don't know if you've played it, but you definitely know it.
I know it. Okay, good. Is this game a PC game?
Yes.
Okay. Is it PC exclusive?
I think, okay, we're going to say this. Every time we talk about this, we're going to go off of at the time of release. So we're going to say yes.
Okay, it was PC exclusive. Was this game released in the 1990s?
Yes.
Okay. PC game.
3 questions now.
Okay. And you're not sure if I've played it. That's info that, because now I know it's not any of the Quake games. I know it's not any of the Doom games.
Oh, my rats. I shouldn't have said anything. I should have just... I owned it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So that's 2 questions, right?
3. You've done
3. Is it a first-person shooter?
No.
Okay. Hmm.
I didn't pick a first-person shooter because I know that's your wheelhouse in the 90s of PC games.
Played a lot of first-person shooters. Is it a RPG, like a traditional RPG?
No.
Okay. It's not an RPG.
5 questions.
Okay. Released in the 90s, not an FPS, not an RPG. Is it a real-time strategy?
Yes.
Okay. Released in the 90s, real-time strategy game, PC exclusive. Is it in the Warcraft series?
No.
Okay. Is it in the Command and Conquer series?
No.
I feel like I could be asking better questions here.
You're at 8 questions. So
8
you have
questions.
a lot. You have a lot. You have 12 left.
That's
So
true. I got
you're
a
doing
lot.
fine. You've narrowed it down quite a bit, and you're doing well.
Now I'm trying to think of traditional RTS companies. Is this game made by Ensemble Studios?
Yes.
Is it Age of Empires?
No.
Is it Age of Empires 2?
Yeah. I chose 2 because I thought 2 is the better of the. I think 2 is synonymously known as like the big one. So I was like,
Yeah.
Go with 2.
And it does have a console release, I think. The
well,
definitive edition, like years and years later.
Yeah, that's why at initial release in 1999, it was for it's for Windows and Mac only. So that's why I was like, I think for the sake of the game, the rule should be it's always the initial release is the platforms because so many games are like re-released and like ported. And so
Yeah.
Let's always go with original release where it came out.
Yeah, and I suppose I think should be allowed to be like, was this game later released?
Yeah, that could be a
help.
question.
Yeah, it could be a question. Like, was it later released on PC? But at the time of release, was it? I guess you could preface your questions with that too. You could say, was this game at the time of release on?
Yeah.
Whatever. But
I was excited because I was just like, I don't know if Tyler's played Age of Empires 2, but I know he knows of it. So I was like, I think that's a good one for that because it's again older PC game, but not a first person shooter.
Yeah, I've played a little bit, but not very much. My brother was really into that one though.
Oh yeah, I was really into it. I played at a friend's house on their PC, and I remember like being like antisocial, like really playing the game a lot. It's cool. So now let's do a what you've been playing segment just to end out for the day.
All right. Am I up first then?
Yeah, or I can go first if you want. If you want me to go, if you want to think about it.
I mean, I don't have to think about it. I've been playing Persona 3. I straight up put 10 hours into Persona 3 yesterday. I just sat there all day.
Like a job.
I put in overtime on that job.
Clocked in.
I went hard. I went from 42 hours to 52 hours. And I kind of wanted to keep going. And then I was like, you know what? I really got to go to bed.
How was it though? Was it a fun?
It's great.
That sounds like a fun Saturday.
Yeah, the end is in sight. That's once I can tell that the end is in sight on a long game like that, then it becomes easier for me to put more and more time into it. When it's like, this is a 120-hour game and I'm 4 hours in, like I could put in an hour and then put it down because I'm like, I'm not making a dent in this, you know. But when the end is in sight, then it's like, oh, I'm almost there. And there's a part in that game where they keep talking about this is the final battle. This is the final battle. And spoilers, it's not the final battle, but the story's really getting good, you know. So I was putting a bunch of time into it. I've been playing. I'm a little late to the party on this one, but I found it on Apple Arcade. Slay the Spire.
Ooh, it's a good game. It's a good game.
Really good. I know I'm late to the party on it, but it's really good. Plays really, really well on the phone, and because it's on Apple Arcade, there's no like microtransactions or anything. It's just game. You just play game.
Yeah, I didn't play it on phone, and I wonder if I should play it on the phone because I think the phone would be the best way to play. Like that's where it's meant to be played. I feel like the natural way to play it.
Yeah, and it lends itself so well to this like just play for a couple of minutes and then put it down. Because even you can pick up in the middle of a fight, but even the fights themselves are not very long. And it's just fight after fight. Like there's no like, okay, what was I doing? Where do I need to go? And then you play for 2 minutes and you forgot where you were going and you couldn't even get there. And then you had to put it down. So it's been really, really good for that. I want to say there was something else that I started playing too, but I can't remember. So that's kind of it. Let me look at my games on my phone.
Nobody go while you look. I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go. This is exciting. I've been playing because the Fallout Fever hit. I finished the show. I love the show.
Oh, I have only 3 episodes in still.
Okay. I'm just going to say this. Fallout, the television series, might be my favorite video game adaptation of
More than Last of Us, even.
More than Last of Us, because I feel like I think it's a personal thing, because I didn't have the attachment to Last of Us because I didn't play the game.
Because you're not a real gamer, you don't have a PlayStation.
Because I'm not a real gamer, I don't have a PlayStation. Exactly. Everything comes back to Reeve just dunking on me. So there's that, but also like I have such fond memories of Fallout, and I just feel like that show nails the tone and the dark humor of the world and better than they have before. And I just really like that a lot. So I think the Fallout show was great. But because of that, I played Fallout New Vegas and I picked that up again. So I was playing that a little bit this week. I also played some more Stardew Valley this week because I'm stuck on getting the red cabbage for the town center, because I messed it up. I didn't plant it when I got the seed. I forgot. I got a seed and I forgot to plant it. I ruined it. So I'm like kind of stuck on getting the community center done. But I'm loving that. The new 1.6 update's really cool. They had a bunch of stuff, and they added another update. They had another one afterwards. They added more stuff like that was kind of not announced. Like 1.6 came out, big deal, and then like a couple weeks later, they added another update with even more stuff, which is like that's really neat. So for a game that everyone thought was done, while the developer makes Haunted Chocolatier the next game, it turns out they're still supporting it. So I played Stardew Valley. I played that. And then I haven't really been playing games too much this week, though, because I was watching the Fallout TV show and stuff like that. But I'm really, really into those two games right now. And I think I'm kind of out on New Vegas for now. Like, it was really just I kind of want to pick this up again. And I had fun. Here's the thing that drives me nuts, Tyler. The Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition, which came out in 2021, right? So fairly recent, does not support cloud saves.
Wait, what do you... 2021.
Yeah, the Ultimate Edition of Fallout New Vegas. So that
are you playing it on Xbox or?
I'm playing it on Xbox Game Pass.
Oh.
And I played it on my laptop, thinking I could play the cloud save on my PC, and it's a nah.
No, because you're playing the Xbox 360 version of that game when you play on Xbox.
Even though I'm playing it on PC.
Oh.
I'm playing the 2021 Ultimate Edition of the game on PC, not on Xbox, on PC, but on Xbox game, like Xbox's app.
Yeah, like where would your save be coming from?
My laptop to my PC.
Oh, you had just started a file on your laptop and you were trying to play it,
thinking it would cloud save it and I could play on my PC, and I couldn't do it. It was being rude.
Oh, that is strange.
Yeah, right. I just thought that was weird. Anyway,
you weren't trying to like load up an old save from.
No. But the other thing about that too, and the thing I kind of want to talk about, what I did do is I recently did some surgery on my Xbox One. I don't know if I talked about this. I replaced the hard drive in my old Xbox One with a solid state, and I am noticing some perks.
Good.
It boots up faster. It loads apps faster. It loads games faster. Is it a huge difference? No, but it's noticeable from the terrible load times I was getting before. So that was like a $60 solid state drive on sale. And I bought the SATA adapter, and I just did the offline update, which you can do on Xbox. And I essentially did a little Xbox surgery and kind of give it some more life, because I don't really want to buy another console right now. I don't
blame you. The PS5 Professional is rumored to come out this fall.
Mm-hmm. And I'll get that, and then I'll be a real gamer. Mm-hmm. And that's the dream. So with that, though, if you want to send us an email, you can do that at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. Tyler, did you find the Civ 4 picture?
I never found it. I will post it in Discord. And if I don't post it in Discord by the time you listen to this, at me, and that will remind me, and I'll find it.
And you'll find it. Okay. Now, with that, though, other things you can do to help us out, go to Codex History Podcast, or codexpodcast.net, excuse me, and then go to our website and see all our links there. Emails at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. With that, though, would you like to say goodbye to everyone, Tyler?
Goodbye to everyone.